what is Brazil?
Policy debate, sometimes called cross-ex debate, is a two-on-two debate event. Teams debate against each other. The objective of each team is to convince you, the judge, their policy is preferable. As the judge, you evaluate opposing teams' arguments and determine who most effectively argued their position. It is important to note that your role as a judge is to evaluate the competing arguments in the round. Your views on a topic and your beliefs on the ideal response to that argument should not factor into your decision. Because debaters are required to argue both sides of a topic, it is necessary for the judge to remove any personal biases when evaluating the round. Because a speech is persuasive in nature, it's helpful to review Aristotle's 3 modes of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, or ethical appeal, establishes credibility through convincing the audience on the character of the author. This is done through delivery and use of evidence in the speech. Pathos appeals to the emotions of the audience. Logos is persuasion through the use of reason or logic. In addition to the modes of persuasion, there are a number of key areas to consider when evaluating policy: argumentation and plash. Argumentation. Debate is an exchange of ideas between debaters. As a judge, you are not determining who is the better speaking team, but rather who best utilizes the modes of persuasion to respond to their opponent in the round. As such, declarations relying on charismatic delivery are not well-developed arguments. To have a complete argument, a debater should establish his or her claim or response to the opponent's claims, the warrant or why the declaration is true, and establish impact or why it matters. Arguments lacking this structure should not be given the same weight as fully developed arguments. Simply put, you are not evaluating dueling speeches, but rather an interactive exchange of ideas where each debater is responding to the other's argument. Interaction or clash occurs when a debate team explicitly responds to an argument made by their opponent. As the round progresses, consider each team's case and their opponent's response. Additionally, should a team fail to respond to an argument, the unaddressed argument would carry greater weight if developed in later speeches, since the opponent tacitly agreed to the argument by not responding. As you determine the winner, ask yourself, given only the arguments in the last 2 speeches, which side presented the best overall policy? Indicate this on the ballot. Ignore arguments introduced for the first time in the final rebuttal. This is important because the opposing side won't have enough time to respond to a new argument. When determining the most persuasive arguments, consider if the opposing debater had an adequate opportunity to respond. Arguments presented for the first time in one of the last 2 speeches don't meet this standard and should be disregarded. It is important to note, the role of a judge is to evaluate the competing arguments made by the debaters. Views on a topic and beliefs on how to respond to an argument should not factor into your decision. Because debaters are required to argue both sides of a topic, it is necessary for the judge to remove any personal biases when evaluating the round. Overall, remember the job of the debate team is to persuade you of a position. Record which arguments are convincing and which need to be developed. Thank you for judging, and enjoy the experience.